Hello and happy Thursday. It's Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. And yeah, we have a fun little show here for you guys. We'll be covering some stakes racing at Saratoga, covering some stake racing at Colonial Downs, RIP Arlington. They'll be running the Arlington Million. At least this year, they're running it on real turf, as far as I can tell. We are not going to have that painted bullshit that they had last year, where they ran one day and one day only at Churchill. Probably going to have a little bit better of a race, but I'll bring in my bald compatriot here, Mr. Mark Capitan. But one thing I did notice, and it doesn't seem like there's as many international runners at this year's Arlington Million, huh?
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird. I know they were talking about running back the horse that clipped heels at Saratoga. I don't know if they're going to run him in the million or not, but they were going to ship him down. I didn't see him on the undercard. Maybe I just missed him. I can't think of the horse's name right now, but yeah, it does seem like there aren't as many internationals. I do sort of wonder if that does have something to do with the fact that it is at Colonial. It's probably a little harder to ship in, international in. There's only so many places where you can, if you're flying a plane over it, you can actually land with horses on it and then have the whole immigration process and the whole.
Come on, Jose.
That.
Come on, Jose.
Are you just blind betting Jose Valdivia again?
Jose Valdivia, baby. Speaking of Arlington, let's go. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, so I wonder if it is somewhat limited by they would have to probably fly into New York and then truck the horses down, and is it just a situation like that? I wonder if in the Euro's eyes that race not jumping locations is somehow has less less cachet, maybe. It's less important now, or they're not as interested in targeting it, or just maybe they don't have horses that they want to point towards it. Obviously it's there's a bunch of factors there, but yeah, no, I did find it interesting. Not as many Euros. A couple of the Euros are interesting. Honestly, I think we're covering 6 races. I think the 3 that are at Colonial are more interesting races than the 3 that are at Saratoga. Not that the ones at Saratoga are bad or anything, but weather up here has been atrocious all summer.
Yeah, that was actually a loaded question, Mark, because apparently Caitlin Free, our friend, tweeted out earlier. The reason, or one of the reasons, is apparently Chicago is one of the few places that has a
the holding location.
The holding barn.
Animal holds, yeah. There's one in New York as well, and that's why you see a lot of Belmont and Saratoga, because it's easy. It's an easy ship at that point. So holding barns is what I was trying to think of, and I just couldn't think of the word.
Yeah.
So yep. And there's ones in LA, which makes Santa Anita and Del Mar easier. So I would imagine Colonial's a bit tougher. They'd have to fly into New York, and then they'd have to ship. And it's ask PDT about it. It's not the best drive.
Ooh, and I had the Exacta for $4, so that's $98 Exacta times 2. Got a little 7-to-1 home. So
now, I do have to ask, because you are traveling to Saratoga tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Are you going to sleep tonight, or are you just gonna pull it all out?
That's a very good question. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm flying to Saratoga tomorrow. My flight is at 5 o'clock in the morning. So boarding is at 4:30 in the morning. I generally, it's getting through security and stuff should be pretty easy. So my guess is I probably gotta get there around 3:30, which means I gotta leave my house at about 2:45. Yeah. So it's gonna be an early day tomorrow. Yeah, and there's Road Warrior. Just says Jesus Christ.
He basically sums it up right there perfectly.
So I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the issues that Southwest has had, because they used to have I think it was like a 6:30 or 7 o'clock flight out of Midway. They got to Albany, I don't know, like 9, like or 10, like 10:30. Because basically, Mark, you would pick me up from the airport. We would go straight
Yep.
to the track, and we would get there right at first post. So
Believe it or
yeah, I don't
not,
know.
I think they flipped that flight around, and I think it now originates out of Midway in the morning, first thing. And then because there is a departure, I looked at it when I was coming out. We were obviously playing disc golf last week, and I was going to fly. I was going to fly in Southwest. They have a departure that leaves Albany at like 10:30, 10:45 in the morning. I think that's your flight coming in, doing the turnaround, and going back. So I think it just comes around. Yes,
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. It's been flying has just been, I don't know, a complete nightmare as of late. But yeah, I'll be doing a lot of it. Obviously, we just got back from disc golf this past weekend, which was a blast. We had a ton of fun last
ton
week.
of fun.
Maybe a
Yeah,
little too much fun. I
maybe a
did get
little.
my fill of Mark, as he can attest that I was a little bit cranky with him to start the week.
A little bit. And to
Um,
end the week, they're yeah.
I mean, to be fair, you started booming 4 to 5s and 6 to 5s
I
in
did. Yeah,
Assiniboia Downs chat,
I
and
did. I
I just
did.
was not here for that, Mark. Um,
So
but
it's the close. It was the close. I mean, I didn't say it out loud. It was on the keyboard. It's just the close proximity was of the boom was what was getting you.
yeah, I just was not here for it, Mark.
Sorry.
You know, and then you played those two doubles that were just,
Oh come on, those were yesterday. Come on,
yeah, there it is,
there it
$1.95
is.
doubles.
There it
Yeah,
is.
you're playing McDoubles over there, but yeah, there it is. Boom. Yeah,
See,
Steven knows
Steven's
what's
not
up.
counting the rebate in that though.
Anyways, we're not gonna talk about the rebate, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun little weekend. Pretty quick for us, flying in Friday morning, Friday, Saturday, and then I fly out Sunday at 8:10 p.m. So I'll probably leave before the last race and just to get there in time, um, but yeah, it should be fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the great people I haven't seen in a while out there. Matthew, who I haven't seen since Breeders' Cup. Sarah, hopefully we will be able to see her as well. And Andrew Champagne will be out there. Road Warrior might meet us out there.
Did you say Matt
Um,
DeSantis as well?
yep. Did I
Yeah.
not say Matt?
I don't think you said Matt. You said Sarah.
Mm. Well, I mean Sarah is more important, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Sarah is more important than Matt. Yeah, that's true.
Um, but yeah, so it's gonna be a ton of fun. We'll see what the racing looks like, because I'll tell you, man, it has been a rough
Mhm.
week for Saratoga.
Dude, it's
Um,
been a rough meet. I mean, the entire meet's been rain. Honestly, the rain that was coming through tonight did somewhat fall apart. Tomorrow is supposed to be clear with no rain, and then they're calling for thunderstorms late on Saturday. So my guess is that most, if not all, of the turf races will be off tomorrow, and Saturday will be just a normal race day. Everything on its proper surface, fast and good, maybe. And then Sunday, expect more calamity because they're calling for quite a bit of rain Saturday late. Obviously, I hope it doesn't happen. Nobody likes rained off races. Like it's fun once in a while when you get a big field that gets rained off and you get calamity in a sloppy field, right? But when you're taking it off and it's coming off the night before, and you have all the trainers who have, oh, we're going to try to sneak this horse in as an MTO and play that game, and then they're going to get faster. It takes some of the fun out of it. I mean, there's a 2-horse race today. Like it's just that's not a great product, and it's not exciting to watch. And I'm the biggest Saratoga simp out there, and even I can complain about this.
yeah, it's been really tough. Del Mar continues to be great. And that is a nice thing. Is it just doesn't apparently rain over there. But
Well, it is in
yeah,
a desert, so
yeah, but Saratoga has just been good. Yeah, won by the longer price, of
I really
course.
wish I wasn't so terrible at Del Mar, because it seems like the kind of place that big fields, competitive fields, good racing, all that kind of thing. Yeah, and Road Warrior was the longest price, or the longer of the two prices. The horse was even money. Woohoo! Woo! But no, I would say Del Mar, if I had a better feel for it, would be a lot more fun. But I'm terrible there. I'm just really bad there.
You know, the funny thing about the match race, and maybe it's not funny, but you know, there was all that talk about, you know, Maple Leaf Mel and what happened last week, and someone was like, "Oh, it reminds me of Ruffian." Ruffian broke down in a match race, so it was very interesting that you know, they're like, "Hey, let's run a match race here pretty soon." Apparently, I saw Ed DeRosa was going back. I think there hasn't been a match race run at Saratoga since like '91 or something like that.
Wow.
So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I can remember three horse fields being run a few times. It's obviously uncommon, but sometimes you'll get an off the turf small field in a stakes race kind of a thing where whatever. Yeah.
Charles coming in hot and saying he hit the late double. It was nice and try in race 7.
Good for him. Well done,
Charles.
well done.
You missed me rooting Jose Valdivia down the stretch there at the end. I had him to win and I had the exacta there, so that saved my day. So
I will
was
say
good.
though, on the Saratoga card, the next 2 days, your favorite trainer has a lot of entries.
Really,
A lot. Yeah.
I didn't see it. Let me see.
Well, actually, your two top most favorite trainers have a lot of entries.
Ooh, race 1 and 6.
Yeah, and your other favorite
maiden races. Okay, what?
and your other favorite trainer. Yeah, and he also has a bunch on Saturday, Josh.
I'm looking on Saturday. He's only got 2.
Oh, maybe it was Friday
race 1
then.
and 6.
Check Friday.
Who's my other favorite trainer?
Your favorite West Coast trainer. Literally the root of all horse racing evil.
Oh, Baffert. Sorry, I was looking for Safi. I didn't see him anywhere.
I think he's got one or two. I don't. Yeah. His barn's been crazy live at Saratoga though. All the Safi runners have been doing good.
He's got one on Friday. He's got a couple of maiden
Ravelli
races.
does.
Huh?
He's only got one. They're all maidens. Okay.
Yeah, you know the funny thing about Ravelli, as we'll get into some actual handicapping here. The funny thing about Ravelli is that Mark pulled up some random stat today. I forgot what it was for. Was it for the?
It was Morley JJ profitability, and then you pulled up the raw. Or no, it was 1 second. Let me pull it up. What was that? What were we talking about?
But it was some funny.
It was Henning. I think it was Henning JV, and you replied back with a Ravelli stat. That was better.
Apparently, Larry Ravelli over the last 365 days is just a flat win bet profit.
Yeah,
he's paying $2.05 on a $2 win bet, which is just insane. Seeing as when he races locally, how short he goes off. But yeah, it was just a fun little stat there. But let's start with Saratoga because I think Saratoga will probably
be the quicker one. Yeah,
be the quicker one. Yeah, we'll kind of get through this. I haven't had a chance to look through the entire card. I just looked at the 3 stakes races that we're looking at. But Mark, why don't you give me kind of an overall idea of kind of what this card looks like? I've only looked at 3 stakes races. They look okay. I mean, what about the like race 10 and 11, the allowance races and stuff in here? How's it looking?
I think it's a good card. It's a very bettable card. It does not feel like the thing where you're going to have a bunch of 3 to 5s. Looks like you're going to have a bunch of competitive fields. I think you were mentioning the 10th and 11th. I think the 10th is very wide open. 11th a little less so. But I think there's some maidens. I think 6th and 7th are both maidens if I remember correctly. The 5th and 6th, I mean, are both maidens because obviously we're starting the 7th. Both those maiden races appear to be very deep in competitive affairs, so that should be interesting. Obviously, I haven't seen clockers for Saturday yet, but I actually thought the early sequence maybe the more, from a pick 5 standpoint, maybe the sequence that has the best price potential. I think that the early is really deep and competitive. So there aren't a lot of chalky races. There's not going to be a lot of 3 to 5 favorites. And I think it's a really good betting product. But again, it's the big day for Colonial on Saturday of their year. So I think that the Colonial product, if you want to see more probably Breeders' Cup type horses, your Colonial is the one you want to tune into. Although the Saratoga card is very good.
Yeah, so we're going to just cover the three stakes races on both cards here in Saratoga Colonial. So Saratoga starts with race 7, the Galway here, going 100, it's 150K race, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. And, I, going through all of these races, I kind of landed on only two horses in all six races, kind of an A B type in here. You get a bunch of also eligibles and a bunch of nonsense in here. I think you're the horses drawn in. Your favorite's the 8, Love Reigns here for Wesley Ward, Joel Rosario. I had a bit of a hard time getting around this horse in this spot. I mean, you throw out the juvenile turf sprint, and I don't know. This horse looks pretty tough to me to beat here. Is very versatile. Has done it going wire to wire. Has done it sitting just off. Has done it closing from the clouds. So yeah, I don't know. I think Love Reigns is going to be pretty tough to beat here. There's another horse I did like a little bit, Mark, but where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I think the race begins and ends about what you feel about Love Reigns. She's been campaigned like a normal West Ward horse, which means that she runs twice a year, pops a massive figure, and then goes into witness protection. In it, but her two best races are just massive, and she does have a really, really nice win across the surface. We all know that West Ward does very, very well with these turf sprinter types. He's never seen a horse that he couldn't turn into a turf sprinter, and Love Reigns definitely fits that bill. I think she's a major player in here. There's a bunch of questions with her. I don't think she's got a lot of speed to be involved early, but I don't think she's ever been as buried as she's going to be in this race. I think at first call she's probably going to be fifth or sixth, so she's got a lot of work to do in the lane. Rosario's going to have a bunch of speed inside. You're going to have horses like the 1, the 2, the 5, all going. The 9 should have enough speed to probably clear. I really think she's going to have a much tougher test than she's ever had. And yeah, and honestly, she's been off since April, so there's that long layoff line if that's a concern for you. She's the logical, easy to get to horse, but you're not going to get 5-2 on her. You're probably going to get 7-5 on her because she's the name and everybody knows her. So, what do you do with her? It's a little hard. I'll be watching the board and kind of playing around. I think it's something like the pick 5. She's a hard horse to completely toss. But I mean, I wouldn't fault anybody for it. And I guess the two horses that I was really interested in here that are not named Love Reigns, and obviously she's an A for me on how I capped it. First off is the 2 Beauty of the Sea for Joseph Orfino. Not a trainer that ships a lot of horses to run up at Naira. This horse has won a couple of really nice races at Gulfstream on both the turf and the synth. And I thought that Monmouth, that black type, was also a very nice race. Her figures fit really competitively in here. She's got enough speed that I actually think she'll get in front of Love Reigns, and Love Reigns is going to have to pass her. And she's also, a 3-year-old. She's not one of these, horses that can't. A lot of these types they get headed and they stop. She's not that. She's never been on the, she did wire a field, but she historically is, a couple lengths off from it and does have that one big closing move. So, I think she gets a little bit lost on the board just given the connections. And I thought it was, actually for me, it's a real sign of, support for the horse that, Orfino or Orsino decides to ship her up to Saratoga and give this kind of level of field a shot. So I thought she was pretty interesting in here. The other horse I thought was pretty interesting was Love Appeals, the 4. Manny up for Clement. Manny has a win on her, 2 back. Flo lost the mount after that race at Monmouth. She has figures that fit here. She seems to be kind of the every other type. Obviously bred to go this trip with, the Spitestown on top. So I think she's also an interesting, really interesting player that, again, you probably get a bit of value on just given the fact that Clement has not been hot at the meet like he sometimes is. And I think you get a fairly square price on her. So I thought she was a really interesting horse here.
Yeah, I actually I thought I had another horse in here, but I think I'm just single A to Love Reigns. I did look a little bit at the 9 horse Stone Silent. I thought was an interesting one
Yep.
as kind of the speed of the speed. I thought. Um, Let me see, is this the right race? And it's kind of tough here with the optics plot, just because you get the AEs that are in here as well. If you look at the surface distance, you get a little bit better of a idea. They do have Love Reigns as a humongous Q2 square, which seems to be the types that are kind of winning these races. I did see Nick. Nick did call out the 10. The 10 was
Yeah.
one I kind of looked at a little bit. You get IRAD aboard again. Um, you know, uh, Kind of, has been very well traveled for George Weaver. Gulfstream, Keeneland, Churchill, Laurel, Monmouth, and then shows up here. Was second to that horse that you mentioned before. Oh my goodness, why am I
The two.
blanking? Yeah, the 2 horse, Beauty of the Sea. Thank you.
Yeah, Beauty of the Sea.
And on Brisnet just does look a little bit slow. But George
I'll tell you what,
Weaver. Oh, go
time
ahead.
form loved that last race.
Yeah.
She gave back a 110 time form, which is right up with the best in this race on that last race. So I thought she was a major player in here. Yeah, I'm more concerned about the draw in the fact that she's going to get floated really wide. She is a horse that's going to be a little bit further out of it. That could either have the speed coming off around the corner and she has to go 6 wide, in which case she's not interesting to me. Or you could have the fact that she's out of, a little bit out of the pace complexion and Rad can kind of pick his way through it and she sets up a real clean trip, in which case I think she's really dangerous. So
I don't think you have to worry about Irad going 6 wide, because he'll just bully his way into the 3 path either
yeah.
way. So,
And he won't get DQ'd when he does it. I mean, he can just go full pinball and they're not going to take him down. So
but yeah, I did look a little bit at the horses outside of Love Reigns, the 9 and 10. I just thought, if I'm gonna have the chalk on top, I probably got a single A. But I don't know. We'll see kind of, like I said, what happens. Assuming we get no weather, we stay on, and how things kind of go here. Let's take a look at in chat here. Okay, Road Warrior, I already highlighted that he does like the other Love Horse, which is that 4 that you talked about
yep.
there. We have not Jonathan Kinchin, but James Kinchin, saying that before the spa meet began, he said they were off the turf until 2024. He wasn't that far off. Yeah, it's been rough. But
I
was
will
there
say
anything else
though,
you want to talk in there?
no, not in that race. I will say though, they have a lot of back turf races that they need to get in. So you may get in a situation where we're halfway through the Saratoga meet at this point, where the back half of the meet, all of the optionals on a certain card become turf races. Which, in case you get a ton of turf races that are really big fields, and you may get that what's normal the first 2 weeks at Saratoga, where you have those huge fields, they may come in the back half of the meet, which could be actually a very interesting thing. So.
Yeah, because the condition of the turf course is not been an issue either. So let's run more turf races on it.
Well, it's
I
just been wet. I mean, it's gonna if you it stops raining every
let's look.
day, it'll dry
I've seen
out.
a lot of bad steps on that stretch, and I don't know if it's
Oh,
necessarily just
they
because
need to
it's
fix that
wet.
freaking pothole at the freaking eighth pole. But
Yeah, it looks like Churchill Downs turf actually.
oh come on,
Uh,
it does not look that bad. They haven't had to paint it. There's actually green grass growing out of it. Um, you know, they haven't decided to move all the races to a state a couple thousand miles away. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure Mark Hennig having horses break down back-to-back races on the turf. Yeah, I'm sure that was all Mark Hennig. Yeah. All right. Race 8, Saratoga Special here. 6.5 furlongs for 2-year-olds. Unfortunately, Caleb's not here because I know he loves these types of races here. Your 4 to 5 favorite is the 6 Rhyme Schemes here, and I don't see it. I mean, maybe DRF or Timeform just have that last race just absolutely humongous. But if there's one thing I've seen, is that Ellis Park shippers have not been doing great shipping over here to the Saratoga the Saratoga Surface. And while I do have an Ellis Park shipper as a B, I'm not taking 4 to 5 on a horse shipping in from
So
Ellis.
you're planning on Caleb being the pick 5 then? Cool. Well, that's good to know ahead of time.
I'm just I'm not going to use an Ellis Park shipper at a short price. I'm going to instead go to the Belmont horse coming from Belmont here, the 4 horse Hall, for Todd Pletcher and Irad Ortiz Jr. Last time out, won very convincingly by 3 lengths. And never looked in doubt. Horse has been working pretty well here. Just working 4s and 48s consistently. So is training up here. Has got a couple of runs on, the Saratoga training track here. So yeah, I really like Hall. These are the types of races that Todd wins, and this horse never turns into anything. But for this case, I really do like Hall in this spot. And then it's kind of my B horse. I like the horse just to his outside, Edified here, for Steve Asmussen and Joel Rosario. And this is just kind of looking at a horse that kind of didn't really get shuffled back, but he's got a little baby Z pattern here. Started second, ended up being third at second call, and then made up a ton of ground to win by 3 lengths. I always love to see a horse that can pass other horses at 2. So I really like the 4 and the 5 in this spot. These need to lead types here at real short prices, shipping in from Ellis, where the horse had a humongous jump. At least on Brisnut. This is gonna be a fade for me. So, Mark, I know you've never found the 4 to 5 that you didn't like, so I'm guessing you're singling the 6 here.
Yeah, the horse is 20 points faster than anybody else in the field on time form, 25 points faster than anybody else on BSF. I realize
Wait, on what?
BS figures.
Yeah, BSF bullshit figures, exactly.
It says the guy looking at what now? Figures that if that horse ran a 1.5 miles, that would have been a 5,000 point figure. Yeah. You complain about BS figs. Come on now. No. The problem with 2-year-old races is the fact of everybody else in here is eligible to take a major step forward, and the 6 is eligible to toss a clunker, right? That's what we had in whatever the 2-year-old stake was that was opening weekend, where you had $180 horse or whatever it was. So I think you have to sort of decide how you want to approach this. In something like a double or a pick 3, I'm just going to single the 6, and I might use the rest of the field as like C's and a pick 5, just from a calamity factor hedge. But I realize Ellis figures are whatever, or we don't. Ellis dirt horses have not all run back to their figures, but this horse just absolutely towers over this field at this point. So I have a hard time getting past the 6, and add to those factors that Norm Cassie's 50% on the meet. He's 3 for 6, and when he's using Santana at Saratoga over the last 2 years, they're 33% in a $2.96 ROI. I just have a really hard time going anywhere else beyond the 6.
Yeah, looking at optics, we have the 4 here as a nice big old Q1 square, and then you got the 5 and the 6 kind of sitting in Q3 and Q4 here, and we do have a nice big old red word on the 6, bias. So that was a speed bias track. Let me actually pull up her actual full notes. 1 second. I don't know why, but I've been having issues when I just share my entire screen. So
Hey Nick, I don't have the stats in front of me. Caleb's normally the one that pulls shipper stats because he has access to a database for that. But agreed, Ellis figures have not translated for the most part. But it's one of those things, whatever, a 90 at Ellis versus a 90 coming from Belmont. The Belmont horses have always been winning. I don't think we've seen many where the Ellis Park had a 20-point speed advantage and it wasn't winning. And I think it's just if it was 2 or 3 or even 5 points, I would pretend to move the 6 down on that. It's just such a massive advantage. That last race was absolutely huge. And from the most part, 2-year-olds don't really bounce.
I will say also, I did look at the note that Emily, or I think it's Emily who does the notes for
I think they have a
Saratoga,
team, don't they?
but yeah, but I know she does a lot of the bigger
Does she
tracks,
do Ellis
but
notes?
uh, possibly I don't know. I'll have to ask her because you guys remember that time Ellis was not Ellis, it was Churchill.
True.
But the Belmont notes say Gallop Out hooked up with another horse in the Gallop Out and wouldn't let him pass. So the 4 does seem like a horse that does not like letting other horses get past.
I know a guy who's multiple times told me gallopouts don't matter,
Mhm.
and it's complete BS. So yeah, you might want to pull a
And I
really
know a
really.
guy who played a 6-5 and 7-5 to a 2-5 double at Cinnabon Downs the other day, and missed.
Do you want to talk about my pick 4 later that day? No, and I mean, I will say of the horses in here, Hall makes sense, sure, obviously, but it's going to be Hall's going to be way over bet based on his chance of winning. The horse I would be more interested is actually the 2 Market Street. That's a horse that had a really nice debut at Ellis, shipped to Saratoga, and completely fell on his face coming out of the gate last out. Gaff is now off. You're getting a little, I don't. Torres doesn't get a weight break here. But Dwayne Lucas does, I mean, it's not crazy high percentages or not crazy high sample size. But if you kind of draw a line through that last race, suddenly the Ellis Vic doesn't look that terribly slow compared to this field. And I wonder if this horse, obviously 2-year-olds tend to develop. Coach does run them a lot, but I think with 2-year-olds, you can kind of race them into shape and they definitely will race themselves faster. So, I would think at a price, I thought the 2 was really interesting.
All right. Yeah. Road Warrior agrees with you. If there's any chance of value in this race, it's the 2.
Yep.
Otherwise, I don't see a good way to make money.
Yep, I would agree with him. And again, maybe not a horse on top, but I think the 2 probably is the speed of your speed here. I would imagine they have one way to go, and that's to go to the front and make the 6 pass them. So I see a situation where maybe they get nailed late, but the 2 holds on, and you get a nice exactor or something. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
All right, race 9, the Got Stormy Stakes, grade 1 here, going a mile on the turf. Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, I think it's sort of an interesting race. I mean, there's obviously 3 major players in here that make sense from kind of class figures like this trip, yada yada, and that's sort of Emmanuel, Annapolis, and Casa Creed. And then I keep scratching my head why Emmanuel is actually in this race, because to me this is just too sharp for him. I realize he does have a really nice win going a mile, but historically he's kind of wanted to go a little further. And my other issue with Emmanuel is he's been very much class exposed. You throw him in a G3, he gets you a nice cash, a nice check. He steps up in class and he loses by 10 or 15 lengths. Just a horse that I think at this point in his career, I kind of know what he is, and I think he's been somewhat class exposed. So I don't want to really draw a line. I think both Annapolis and Casa Creed in here make absolutely a ton of sense. Casa Creed, I mean, both of them love Saratoga. Both of them, this is a very nice trip for them. Maybe a touch longer than Casa Creed wants to go, but he's done it before, so I don't see why he can't do it again. That Kelso was a very, very, very nice race where he did mow down Annapolis late. So I mean, if you're making me pick one over the other, I'd take Casa Creed over Annapolis. Not that hard, obviously. That's the Morning Love favorite over second choice, but I don't really think you have to go too much deeper than those 2 horses.
Yeah, I am on the complete opposite side. I'm probably going to be single Aing Emmanuel in this spot. Um,
Of
you
course you
know,
are.
looking at the optics plot here, we got the big old square here right in the middle of the plot. Obviously you got the 3 and the 5 out there up front. So based on kind of the pace figs that we've seen, it looks like the 1 does have a little bit better of late kick here. Um, I will say that Casa Creed is going to be probably really tough to beat in this race. I want absolutely no part of Annapolis. I think Annapolis is just an awful horse. I don't know. That one I'll let you have if Annapolis wins. I mean, I'll tip my cap to you. But I mean, that horse has kind of gone off form in the BC Mile. It was no show, and then lost in the Kelso to Casa Creed when it seemed like he had everything kind of go his own way. He had all the pace in the world to close into, and couldn't get it done. So no interest in Annapolis. I mean, if I liked prices in other spots, maybe I'll include Casa Creed as another a horse along with Emmanuel. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Emmanuel's got that last race, the poker was pretty impressive. I haven't looked at other figures yet. Maybe it's way too slow to win this race, but I think he plots out in this spot. And I think he kind of gets first run on the rest. I mean, maybe Casa Creed just outkicks him from a little bit further back, but I don't know. I thought Emmanuel might get the jump on him. Charles mentioning that it looks like Annapolis hit the gate pretty hard last
He
time
did.
out.
Yep, he did.
Um,
It did not make the trip notes either, but yeah, he did. He did definitely hit the gate pretty hard. But I guess my thing with Annapolis is he loves this trip and loves Saratoga. I mean, I would say kind of he's a horse I would fade at your own peril. I mean, have fun.
okay, I'll have fun fading at 8-5. That should be like 7-2. But
You're
um,
insane.
another horse I will be using though is the 3 My Sea Cottage. This was a horse that I tried to bet. Um, was it last week? And then he got scratched out. Let me actually double check the scratch notes. My Sea Cottage. Oh, the steward scratched him last time out. But the steward scratched him, and then all of a sudden he shows up into a Grade 1 race. Kind of scratching my head a little bit on that, but this is your pace in this race, and I think that this is your clear speed to speed. You get Dylan Davis aboard, who, uh, you know, I I think has been riding pretty decently to start
He's
the meet. I
doing
know he's
very
only
well.
10%, but he's gotten some very nice prices home. He's been hitting the board quite a lot, and yeah, I mean, I've seen weirder things happen than a speed horse getting out there on the front and just everybody leaving him alone. Now, the 5 with Ruben Silvera is also only got one real option, and that's to go. But kind of looking at this horse's kind of shorter races, I still think that my Sea Cottage is faster early. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Sea Cottage as a B, kind of speed as my speed play. And
So shockingly, you're using the E8.
yeah,
Cool. Okay.
yeah, at
Uh,
30-1. I mean,
I can't fault anybody for using a 30-1. So yeah, I mean, I'm just picking on you. One other horse I did want to touch on briefly is go all the way to the outside, the 7 Ice Chocolate, or Chocolat, I think it probably is. I'm a little shocked. This is a Brazilian horse, and you did not use it. I
Chilean,
realize, is it only Chilean? Is
it's
that
only
and only when
Chileans
they're going
and
like 3 miles,
Argentinians.
right? And Argentinians when they're going really long on the turf. Okay. No, but I thought this horse was kind of a little bit of an interesting outsider in this field. 8-1, I'm not interested. I think you probably get 15-1 kind of range, and then I am more interested. But this horse, if you go back through his career, they haven't really tried to stretch him out much, but when they have run him at a mile, he's actually did really well. His best race of his career was that last race in the Kelso. And I realized he didn't win and he got beat by 2 in here. Got it. But I wonder if this is just a horse that wanted to go. They basically campaigned him at 5.5 and 6 most of his career. Is he just a horse that wants to go a little further? Don't know if he can win here, but he's definitely the kind of horse that I think could clunk up an exacta or a trifecta at a pretty nice price.
So it looks like, is that right? The main turf is going to be at 27, the inner at
Is
0.
that for this weekend? I would be surprised if they have dogs out at all.
Well, it's on the inner, and there's no rail. So
Okay.
we'll race 7.
Imagine you're going to
Yeah, I don't see anything
on the
in
tracks.
here yet. But cool. Uh, anything else on this race here?
Nah,
No.
I'm pretty good.
All right. Let's close this on so I don't get confused. And we'll go ahead and get to Colonial. And we're going to start here at race 8. Oh, it says look at race 2 as I close it. See if I can find it. Where the heck did it go? This is great TV. Race 2. Oh, yeah, rail at 27 feet. Interesting.
That is a really interesting thing on a big weekend. I'd have to look at what other races are on the main turf. If it's just a couple turf sprints, okay, maybe they're saving it for something else. But yeah, I wonder if they wouldn't change them midday. That wouldn't make any sense. So interesting. I have to go through and look at the card. That's actually really interesting, James. So thank you for that.
All right, race 8. The grade 2 Secretariat here for 3-year-olds. I thought this race was pretty
The grade 2
straightforward.
Secretariat at a track you never ran at. Cool, just checking.
Yeah, but don't they call their main turf the Secretariat course? So it's only fitting. They do. I don't know why, but the interesting thing here. So we got
really interesting to know, Nick. Thank you.
we got 8 horses in here. Your morning line favorite is the 3 Najarok, and I don't have him anywhere. This doesn't seem like a horse that really likes to win much. I mean, it did win that J.W. Murphy, but I mean, no excuse last time out in the Manila. Just was put away, and that was kind of it. So I'm not going to take a short price on that horse. I'm going to come back to the well on this horse, Silver Knot, the one. I mean, Jamie Spencer decided to show up for this. Charles Appleby has not necessarily had the greatest of American years so far. I mean, I think he's not had a Charles Appleby like year in general. I'm sure he's doing fine.
Does anybody ever have Charlie Appleby like yours? Really?
I mean, Charlie Appleby, but
yeah, exactly.
Not this year. But yeah, I thought Silver Knot made a bit of sense here. Isn't that nice big Q4 square? So he's going to be the closer. It's going to be really, really coming. He just makes he makes a bit of sense here for me. I mean, if you look at kind of the last races, Farbridge, the Foxes, Montego, they both came back to run pretty well a couple of weeks back. Or was it last week or 2 weeks ago? So yeah, I like Silver Knot in here. I think he's going against much easier than what he's seen in other races. And then I do like Mustache here a bit. To no surprise to anybody, we got the 3 Cherry horse here. And this horse has gotten the lead, has run his races, and he's just been training like kind of like an absolute monster, running 59 and 1 last 2 times out at Keeneland. So yeah, I really like Mustache. I know you get Flo Giroux aboard, and that's a bit of a downgrade from Luis Saez on the front end on a turf. But I think at 5-1, I think that's a pretty fair price. And I really like Mustache here as kind of a B type, but I'll probably be single A'd through the 1 Silver Knot. Mark, where did you kind of land?
Yeah, I can't fault your Silver Knot love. He's definitely a major player in here, and a very very, very interesting horse in this race. But I think you're disregarding Niagara quite a bit. Horse has got 8 starts and has never missed the trifecta. So saying he's underperformed or he doesn't like to win or whatever, I think is just kind of laughable. He's been a very good horse. He's does find the winner's circle quite often, and I'm sure connections are quite happy with him. I don't necessarily know what his preferred trip is. but I think a mile should kind of suit him well. So he's a major player in here. I have a really hard time getting past him. He should be your inside draw on speed. I haven't been playing a lot of Colonial this year just because it overlaps with Saratoga and they stop running during the week like they stupid decision ever. But again, if speed is good earlier on the card, I think Nagarak is a definitely moves up his chances. And you're right in Graham Motion's backyard, and I'm sure Graham Motion wants to win the race that he can like literally like van to in 15 minutes or whatever. He's very close. And the one horse that I did want to talk about, and there are two Sherdevo horses, and I think it was somebody was saying, yeah, Nick was saying that if the turf at Saratoga, if they're on the turf, then the 7 more than looks is going to be running at Saratoga, which is cool. I was actually more interested in the other horse of hers, which is Northern Invader, the 5. If you know anything about Sherry DeVoe and you know kind of her history, she was an assistant for Chad Brown. And if you know, when we talk about Chad Brown and how he trains horses, very common for him to get a maiden win and then go right into graded stakes company. That's not an abnormal thing for him. And he wins a lot of races like that, and his horses get really disregarded. I really wonder how well meant Northern Invader is here. Horse has a lot of speed. And again, I don't want to diss Emily's product, but I really wonder if you don't kind of trust the optics in this race, because this is a horse that they ran on dirt twice. Then they threw him on turf and he freaks and runs a huge race at Belmont going a mile. And I wonder if they just went, oh, okay, he loves turf. Cool. We're going to throw him in the deep end. And is that optics plot necessarily accurate? His figure is a touch light for this field. There's definitely more experienced horses in here. He needs to take another step forward. But when you win by 8, I don't really know how much you were asked. How much faster could that figure have been if he had some pressure late? So, I think at a bit of a price, Northern Invader, the 5, is super interesting. And I love to see Johnny V taking them out because he, obviously rode the maiden break last out. And he's very good with, he's just somebody I just intrinsically trust. He's very good with anything you put him on.
Nick Feldman did mention the other horse that I was a little bit interested in was a 6 Major Dude, and he kind of, I think, he kind of pointed out that if you kind of cross the line through that last one, his form looks a lot better. Obviously, that Penn Mile. I mean, who did he really beat? I'm not sure. Um, I don't know what happened in that Manila, but that was not a good race from him. But you kind of go through, the Kitten's Joy. I mean, heck, even the Jeff Ruby Stakes where he finished second to a horse that probably would have won a Travers. And then gets beat by Web Slinger and Far Bridge, who would probably be 4 to 5 in this race. So I don't know. Maybe he's got some sneaky form there. If you kind of cross out the last 6 to 1, I mean, he plots out great on optics, on the surface of distance, which Mark, they do break it out by surface, so that does include the last race.
I understand. My take was more the fact of, does one race on the surface give you an accurate optics plot? I don't necessarily know if that's fair. A horse that was clearly geared down, won by 8.5. Therefore, his closing fractions are going to be slower. Therefore, optics is going to move him to a big old circle because he was geared down late.
Doesn't Aragona say that like that's like a fallacy, the whole gear
Ye-
down thing and the figure coming back, like the figure could be
I
faster if the horse
Yeah,
wasn't geared down?
Caleb says the same thing, and they're both wrong. Yeah, and I'll tell you, and again, you were beaten on Nagarak for kind of being a chronic underperformer. Look at Major Dude if you want to talk about a chronic underperformer. Here's a horse. Look at the odds he goes off at. He takes so much money every time he runs, and he consistently just lights it on fire. Not a horse that loves to win. He's got 4 career wins. But, I just think this is just way too classy for him. Who on earth did he beat in that Penn Mile? I mean, yeah, I'll give him the Kitten's Joy going further than this was a very nice race, but he would be on none of my tickets. I just think he's a horse that gets extremely exposed whenever any even mildly talented horse shows up in the field.
Well, luckily I don't know if there's very many mildly talented horses in this race, so I think this is a much softer spot than what he's been racing against. But except for the last race, I mean that's the thing is I mean he got beat by Najra
It's
last time out.
softer except for the horse that beat him. That's outside of him. That's like going to be double his price if he runs down there. Yeah.
Race
There's no way you
nine.
get 6 to 1 in major, dude. There's
You don't
no
think
way it
so?
happens. No, he'll get cut in half and then do what he does and run third at as chalk. He's just as our good friend Sheldon says, he is a pack animal.
Well, if he was chalk, then you'd be all over him. So I don't know if
No,
he's.
he would be on none of my tickets if he was chalk. I'm not the one that eats chalk. I've seen what your picks look like lately.
Yeah. Race nine, the Beverly D, going mile and 3/16 on the turf. I think your 2-1 favorite is the one Fev Rover, who's another horse that's not going to be on any of my tickets. Then you got the 5 Didia, 7 Rocky Sky, and 6 Gina Romantica at 3-1, 6-1, and 5-1. Romanga Mia, the 3, who is coming in first time for Grand Motion, is at 4-1. But Mark, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I would agree with you. Fevrover will be on none of my tickets, so he will 100% win this race and boom both of us. But no, I just don't think Fevrover wants to go this far. Pedigree says this is just the wrong distance. The horse's wins come at a mile and an eighth in the United States, and it just this feels like the type who is probably very distance limited. And I just don't think he don't think he wants to go this far. And so I think the 2 horses I was most interested in were the 3 Romagna Mia and the 5 Didia. Both of them, Didia is 2 for 2 over the surface. Has won a couple of won some really nice races with Vinny up across it, and then I think Romagna Mia is a again Euro shippers. Graham Motion they kind of tend to need a start in his barn before he really figures them out. But my gut says that this one is probably very, very well met in this spot, and is sort of the most interesting of the Euro invaders on this card for me.
Yeah, I landed on 2 horses, both A's. I landed on the 5 Didia. You know, I would love to see what someone like Irad would do on this horse. I mean, this horse would probably like put a hole through the wind if Vinny is running as fast of races as he is on here. But yeah, Didier has really not done anything wrong since coming to the U.S. Has got 4 wins and has got a second to market segmentation last time out. Did have a little bit of squirreliness in the gate there to start, and did beat McCulloch, who came back to win a nice stakes race 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Didia in the spot, and also agreeing with Nick. Nick and I basically see this, I think, the same way. I like Gina Romantica in this spot here for Chad Brown. Um, kind of interesting because, uh, you know, broke its maiden at Tampa, then went to Keeneland. We made the joke, oh, this is a fake Chad, ah, ha ha. Then won a race in the slop at Belmont. Went to Saratoga last year in the Wilton, and then won a nice little mile race at Saratoga. Second in the Pebbles, came back and won a nice race at Keeneland. And for some reason, Chad decided to ship her right back over to to Monmouth there for the Eatontown, but got beat by consumer spending and Vergara and surprisingly a couple of other nice horses here. So I think maybe this is a bit of a softer spot. I'm not really sure, but I'm definitely not going to count Chad out. I think a couple of the back races do fit, and what I did kind of notice is it seems like I really think that Keeneland race where she went a mile in the eighth is probably her best race she's run, and so maybe she just needs a little bit more distance here. So going a mile and 3/16, I think on the stretch out might be helpful for her. So I'm going to be 5-6 here, Didia and Gina Romantica.
Did you give Rocky Sky the 7 any look?
I did not.
Okay. I was just gonna say I have both Gina Romanica and Rocky Sky listed down as C types. I don't know. This always feels like the kind of time race where you take the longer of the two price Chads. At least Rocky Sky has a win going this trip, which I thought was a little more interesting. I don't know. I don't know what Gina Romanica is. It does seem like I agree with you. It does seem like she's gotten better at that. That mile and eighth was probably her best race. So maybe she wants a little more distance. And yeah, so maybe maybe she's a little interesting in here.
Yeah, and looking at the, I think this might have been one where the optics plot was just ridiculous. Yeah, and they got Gina Romantica as this kind of big Q3 square here. Didia looks pretty interesting, and then you got Fev over here. Surfers at distance. The plot doesn't fit. I don't know how useful it's going to be in this race, um, but
Your
yeah,
five look nice there on the plot. So
yeah. And then we'll move to the big one here. Excuse me. Race 10 here, Arlington Million, going a mile and a quarter. And I completely forgot that they ran this thing at a mile and an eighth last year, which is just ridiculous. Um, but I landed on a couple of prices in this race. Your 7-2 favorite is the 4 Atone, winner of the Pegasus World Cup Turf this year. Um, and then you got Rock Emperor at 5-1, Never Explain and Set Piece at 6-1. I mean, Money Burner set piece. My goodness. Santon at 8-1, Catnip at 8-1. You got everyone else at double digits here in this spot. Um, Mark, where did you kind of land here?
I also landed on a bunch of prices in this race. Obviously, Tone is your morning line favorite here. I don't necessarily know if I want a Tone going further. I really think a Tone has been a really good horse. And again, so first thing, Tone hasn't won a lot lately. I realized those two back to backs, but it was a November ducked optional 80, which is probably not the deepest of fields. As a prep for the PWC turf, which is going an eighth shorter. And then those last two races are just sort of, I don't know, they're just terrible. I don't really know, I don't have anything against a Tone, but it also seems very odd that Kendrick, who was up for that optional 80 win, but Kendrick ends up here instead of, I don't know, literally anybody else who's a noted top tier turf jock taking them out. I know he does okay when he rides for Maker. But it just seemed very, very sort of odd and almost like they were desperate for a jock and try to find anybody and ship Kendrick down. No, but I think my top three picks are all kind of pricier. Probably my top of my top pick is going to be the 7 horse Strong Quality. Who should be your speed of your speed, should be able to get out on the front end here. I like Javi on basically on anything, as Josh will. I know that's why he's circling it. Basically like Javi anywhere, but no, I think Javi can get out on the front end and probably slow this pace down. I think Strong Quality could get very, very brave in here. And again, those last three races since they have moved this horse onto turf have all been very good. The figures have all come back very, very strong. And I don't necessarily know if this field is anywhere near as deep as that Manhattan. I don't think there's an Up to the Mark or a Soldier Rising in here. Those are just horses I think are a little bit classier than this field. I have two others, but where did you land here? Because I know you said prices, so we'll float around and talk some more. Will take a little while getting through this one.
Yeah, so continuing with my just absolute love for great stories in racing. How about just one of the greatest comeback stories in that we've ever seen? Richard Dutro just won his first Grade One since coming back off suspension with White Barrio. And he has another horse that he took off Mr. Safi Joseph's hands, the Sixth Masterpiece. I have a big soft spot for Masterpiece going back to when he first kind of came over for Mr. Chad Brown and was I thought he was going to be Chad's next big horse. I thought he was going to be Robert Bruce all over again, and it didn't turn out. Ended up leaving Chad's Brown, going to Chad's barn, going to Mike McCarthy. Won the Ed Reed, a nice grade 2 last year, and went to Safi's barn, and he's been pretty aggressively campaigned since then, going to grade 1, grade 2, um, finishing in the money there, but uh, you know, switched over to Richard Dutro's barn, uh, is getting another shot at some firm turf. Last time out, yielding turf, gonna kind of put a line through it, but um, yeah, I don't know. I thought Masterpiece has run some pretty nice races. I think that this distance is going to kind of hit him square in the eyes, and I think he's run a lot of really nice races, and I just don't trust a lot of these short prices. So, I kind of looked at it. You got strong quality, you got strong tide, you got win for the money might show some speed. Um, you know, we'll see what the tone does. So I don't know. I think that this is really going to play for some horses off the pace. So I like Masterpiece as kind of the best of the closers. I don't trust Set Piece whatsoever. Set Piece can go, I don't know, just jump off a bridge if all I care. But I did see Nick Feldman mention Adamo, and that was kind of my second choice in this race. I mean, 10-1 on a Chad in the Arlington Million is. I mean, this is just a race that he's owned the past couple of years, with the exception, obviously, of Santon last year and 2 Emmys the year before that. But yeah, I think Adamo makes a ton of sense here. He been off a long layoff. I think has got some figures that do fit in the Manhattan last year, where he lost the front running Tributhan there. And closed in what was a pretty glacial pace on Brisnet. Um, so I think with getting a more honest pace here, going that same distance, and this horse has just been working like a monster. I mean, bullet. So I don't know. I think this is a really interesting horse off the long layoff. Chad is great off the long layoff. I mean, you look at his stats and the win percentage is all the same. He's 26% this year. He's 26% 90 plus days off the layoff. He's 26% when he's shipping horses. So I think this is a really good spot for this horse. He's got back races that'll win here. 10-1. You get Flavian aboard, who for some reason Chad loves. I don't get it, but yeah, I'm gonna have two prices here. I'm gonna have Adamo at 10-1, and I'm gonna have the ex Chad Brown horse Masterpiece, I believe, at 12-1 here. But Mark, where do you kind of land?
So you want the one run closer who's been firing bullets?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You do you. The other two horses that I was interested in here the most, and again, I have a million horses written down because I think this is a very competitive race. I think this is a race where you can go deep because there are a lot of really interesting horses. The other two I had, the first one is Catnip, the 8 for Stidham, horse that knocked off 3 in a row. Seems to have gotten really good and really nice just race last out just to get mowed down by therapists late. You're going to get a bit of a price here. The figures that it seems to kind of have really taken a step forward, going that 3 to 4 year old. Then we talk about that a lot of times. Those last couple of figures are extremely competitive versus this bunch, and I also think he sits a really nice trip. Josh did note that there's a lot of pace on the front end here, and I think Catnip sits just behind that pace, probably sits 4th or 5th, and should get first run if the speed starts peeling off this race. So I think Catnip is very interesting in here. The other horse I was a little bit interested in is the 11 Santon, the winner of this race last year. Obviously, form has somewhat tailed off. But again, Santon is one of those horses where there was a point in time where we thought this was going to be the sort of super American turf horses who are going to be able to go against the Euros and give them a real fight. And it quite hasn't worked out that way. But Santon, I still think finally we're going to get back on the right surface. You're going to get a horse that, has, this maybe a tick longer than he wants to go. But if he brings his A game from, the peak point of his 4-year-old season, those races fit really, really well in here. And he's got the highest time that, and I realize it was across the Churchill, whatever you want to call it, from what was we call it, Churf? We're calling it Churf, I think. His best fig was a 130 across the Churf, which is quite a bit faster than anybody else's run in this race. But if you toss those Churchill figs, because we obviously expect them to be pretty suspect, he ran a 122 at Del Mar and he's run a 120 at Belmont. Those again fit very, very well against this field. So, I think Santon is sort of that. Again, he's going to set a similar trip to Catnip, and he's that slightly off the pace type that I do like here.
Yeah, my issue with Santon is his two best races, I think, are complete throwouts, because of the way that Churchill turf was.
Sure.
I mean, who was that? Who
But
was
but
that?
but
Who
the
was
case
that
I'm making,
Chad horse? Who was that Chad horse that just blew the doors off everybody and is in witness protection now because he ran that big? He ran that big fig.
there's a long list of those. I don't know. It's the same as Baffert's got a long list of them. But my thing is, even if you
Speak of the
cross,
devil. Speak of the devil. Remember,
didn't Speak of
just
the Devil just run?
yeah, but he like ran this like
Isn't
amazing
that a
race at
filly?
Churchill and then just like didn't show up anywhere. I think that's what it was. Am I thinking of the right horse? Speak of the devil.
Well, that's a
FR.
filly. That's a mare. So yeah, I mean, she's run some nice races, but
Yeah, won the Distaff Turf Mile at Churchill last year, and then fourth in the Just a Game, fifth in the Honey Fox, third in the Churchill Distaff Turf Mile when they fixed the turf, fifth in the Just a Game again. So
fix the turf. You are putting air quotes around that, right? That they
I mean, it's
fixed
better
the
than it was
turf.
last year. Last year was literally falling apart. This year it actually held together somewhat, and then
It held together so well that
the dirt
they had to
decided
move
to
the
not hold
entire
anything
meet to
together.
Ellis. Got it. Okay, cool. So it's top tier Churchill. I mean, yeah, Churchill's wonderful. No, I mean, yeah, sure. Cross the line through those two races, and has a bunch of other races that fit with this. That fit in here. Yeah, and I agree. I think he did definitely take advantage of a Churchill surface that, the figures clearly have not come back and been accurate there, but he's run some other nice races as well.
All right. Anything else on this card? You have you? I mean, I know you have this entire card. Oh, I know you have the entire Saratoga card cap. I don't know. I don't know about this one, but anything else? Anything else for Saturday? Yeah.
No. I mean, I'll be hanging around the guys at Saratoga, chilling out. Should be a fun time having everybody kind of coming to town. I know we kind of threw this together pretty much last minute, so should be a good group. And yeah, I mean, good luck getting. I don't know if you're gonna pull the all nighter or try to wake up in the morning or whatever, but you should be quite entertaining on like 2 hours of sleep tomorrow.
Yeah. Nick Feldman mentioning how bad did Walsh ruin this horse? Yeah, that's another thing about that horse. I mean, like, why did he
Yeah.
try dirt with him all of a sudden? Like, I don't know. I'm a little concerned about that. Uh, and yeah, Nick Feldman likes your horse strong quality. Charles B, he likes set piece, which I know we didn't talk about, but I just have I have a hard time trusting that horse. But yeah, we will be on track. We'll be on track this weekend. So if you guys are in town, go ahead, come say hi. I know Nick Feldman just got back from being on track. But yeah, make sure you check us out at ontherwronglead.com. Obviously, we've been doing our one a day picks. I've been apparently picking chalk consistently because I've been getting
I've been just
scratched like
picking
crazy.
horses that run last, so there's
And
that.
Caleb is just still in first. So we'll see if that continues. But and then yeah, we'll see you guys on track hopefully, and we'll catch you guys later.